Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
All right. Council will be receiving the proposed budget this evening from the Budget Committee. This is a good time to publicly thank staff, council members, and citizen members of the Budget Committee for all the time they have spent, the many hours of meetings, the thoughtfully going over all sections of the budget. It's been said that a budget reflects one's values. I encourage the council to thoughtfully look not only at the financial numbers, but the programs behind the numbers, the value of the programs to the citizens they serve, the quality of life that the city can help support. For some, as the Budget Committee learned, the swimming pool is of paramount importance. For others, it's going to be the library, others, public safety, policing, clean and safe water, sports and recreation, good roads, emergency preparedness. I appreciate Councilor Irvin's comments that you'll be looking at all areas in the proposed budget. Having a town hall meeting may help inform the council about what the community wants in the budget. And as the council listens to citizens and moves to balance the budget, you can be assured that you cannot and will not please everyone, but I know that you will try and will be trying to make the best decisions possible, given what funds the city has and what our community values. I wish you well in the process and appreciate the thought and care you will be putting into developing the city budget. Thank you. And by the way, I can't hear a word online that anybody is saying from the council meeting.
Let me try the switcheroo. Try it again. Can you hear us now, Bruce?
I can hear you now. Thank you very much. I tried it on the phone too and couldn't hear anything until you switched. So thank you very much.
All right, we're going to move on to action items on the agenda. So Bruce Kelch.
Did you hear anything I said earlier?
We did.
Okay, then I'm finished. That's fine. Thanks.
If you want to read the start of what you said, Councilor Mary Day believes that I don't know where it cut in.
Okay, thank you. I'm just saying the council will be receiving the proposed budget this evening from the Budget Committee, and it's a good time to publicly thank the staff, the council members, and citizen members of the Budget Committee for all the time they've spent. I've seen how long your meetings have gone, and I appreciate that you're all volunteers in doing this, and plus all the hours that you're spending studying and reviewing the materials beforehand. So the many hours of meetings, and thank you for thoughtfully going through all the sections of the budget. It's much appreciated by the public, and I hope citizens recognize how much work you're putting into it.
Thank you. Public hearings, I see none. Consent agenda. Oh, sorry, none. Resolutions and ordinances, none. Business from City Council. City Council Subcommittee.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the City Council. What we're asking the City Council to do this evening is to create a subcommittee to interview applicants who are applying for open positions on the Audit Committee. Just remind you that there are 2 City Council members currently serving on the Audit Committee, Councilmember Irvin, Councilmember Merryday, and traditionally there's been 3 citizens. There's 1 vacancy currently, and then the 2 current members, citizen members of the Audit Committee, both of their terms are expiring July 31st. So as has been our tradition, we're asking that you appoint a committee to interview applicants. City staff will advertise for applicants. And when you appoint the 3, also that you appoint someone to chair that group.
Do we have any volunteers? Councilor Lammerman? Councilor Merryday? Anyone else? Councilor Irvin? All right. Can we have you chair, Irvin? Yes. All right. So.
And just as a quick follow-up to our discussion at the Budget Committee, I'll also be working with the Audit Committee to review the budget and financial policies of the city prior to our next budget process.
So Mindy, Councilor Irvin will be the chair. Town Hall Subcommittee recommendations.
Thanks. The three of us got together and thought we wanted to suggest to the group that we try something simple and simply just go out, and we decided the venue being outside would add some simplicity to all sorts of things. So our vision is if we went to Bohemia Park and put a couple of tables in front of the seating of the amphitheater, and I have some portable speakers, and there's ways to do more than one microphone, but if we did one microphone and we started the evening with, if someone wants to help Greg, but he was saying that he was willing to get up there and explain kind of the rules and how we're going to proceed. And then if someone wants to help Dana deal with, here's a 15-minute presentation of what is in our budget. And then any of the council members that are attending that would like to make any comments on the budget before we open it up to people, then the rest of the evening would simply be sit back and say, what kind of questions do you have, or what kind of statements would you like to do? And a component of this will be, we'll have a little off to the side, a question or statement box where we'll have that set up with note cards and little pencils, and they can put it in there with the idea that at least one council person will get back to them to try and answer any appropriate questions that find their way into there, and that the council will make an attempt to hear whatever is put on those note cards. We were thinking of putting it as a 90-minute scheduled time, with the idea that after 90 minutes, we would take a break at least. And if any counselors wanted to remain after that, or anybody in the audience wanted to remain after that, then we would do that, but we would call it just a 90-minute thing. Because it's a town hall and we're just talking in generalities, I wouldn't mind being the person writing down notes of what in general was discussed. Any of the written stuff we get, we could put as our minutes. I presume that there'll be some of us as counselors that are writing down things. And if we wanted to accumulate those and also make those public documents as to what went on there. And am I forgetting anything?
Yeah, part of the simplicity behind this, to at least for the first one, was pick a topic that's most relevant at the time, spend a little bit of time on it, present kind of, here's how we're processing this, but the follow-up to that, people literally being able to speak, would be the main gist. So want to stick on topic with the budget, great, otherwise it's town hall, it's questions, comments, but I don't imagine that kind of intro would last any more than 20 minutes. Kind of the message on budget is what we're up against. So.
Question for the city manager. Is this illegal? We can do this with all of us there, and
In order to comply with open public meeting law, we need to have probably 2 city staff at least there, the city recorder and myself. We will also have to be able to broadcast this online and have the opportunity for feedback online to be able to comply with our own policies and to comply with open public meeting law. City staff's recommendation is that we hold this at the Shepherd Room over at the community center. The reason being that that room is set up so that we can, with the same disc microphones that we used for the budget, people will be able to hear, we'll be able to have it online, and be able to have people be able to react to it. So our recommendation is that you do it at the Shepherd Room. I think it would be somewhat problematic to do this at Bohemia Park. And just, we were looking today at what times are available. On Monday, June 2nd, we could have it that night. We could also have it on Tuesday night, the 3rd. Just note that you just got a notice about the downtown meeting being on Tuesday, the 3rd. Friday, the 6th is also available at the Shepherd Room, although I don't think anybody would be excited about having it on a Friday night. So.
Counselor Lammerman.
Madam Mayor, Council, I think it would be better off at the Armory, just because depending on some of the topics, we could potentially see quite a few people there. And I don't know if the Shepherd Room could house that many possibly.
We could do it at the Armory. The drawback to the Armory is the sound system and also, quite frankly, Wi-Fi. If council would like to do it there, we can, but understand that there are some logistical issues involving doing a council meeting type event at the Armory.
And just a little feedback, when we've done town halls before, we haven't gotten a huge, that would be a good problem to have. I hope for that, but I think we could probably pack the Shepherd Room. But that was very broadcasted, and this is going to be a little shorter notice. So, Counselor.
So I know there's a few ways to get a lot of people involved, and it's by having hot topic issues. We've talked about addressing the unhoused issues in the community. That could be a topic. The budget could be a topic, obviously. But I guarantee you we could have a few topics that'll draw a lot of people. It's just whether or not we want to deal with that at that particular time.
Counselor.
I heard that it's something about contests public meeting laws and our policy. Which of those would have to be? Which of them says it shouldn't be in Bohemia Park?
Neither says it shouldn't be in Bohemia Park, but we have to have it be virtual so that folks who are not online are able to participate. And we also need to record it and broadcast it.
In the state of Oregon, you need to broadcast every town hall?
Mindy is our expert, so I'm going to defer to her.
Okay.
So the meeting there has to be a virtual component, and people have to be able to either call to participate or do so through video.
Counselor Settermeyer, it has to do with us having a quorum, not a town hall. So if we had 3 or less counselors, that could be done. But if we have a quorum, it must be broadcast.
So the phones, so if we allowed someone to call this number and call in, would that be what you're saying? Or are you saying that we need this kind of capability?
They need to be able to participate in the meeting virtually.
Counselor Irvin.
This does seem to be the crux of the issue here. I would like to understand that if someone could submit a text message, if that qualifies as participating virtually, because I could certainly see, tripod with a phone broadcasting live on YouTube, which would be pretty much no different here. But the part about being able to submit a question very well could also be mitigated with a phone on the table that we're sitting at that has a live feed of live chat. We could address questions. It'd be very much like somebody who's looking through that. I've watched plenty of town halls and said, we have a question from the audience through text. Just, I guess I need to know more of the specifics about what is required and what's not. I think we could easily accommodate if it was text. It'd be a little more difficult if it had to be a video, but we want to know that. We do, I feel pretty strongly about having it outside for just a layer kind of reasons. One, it broadcasts that we are out in the public. We are, it's like the old town square, you know, come around. If you're wandering, if you're out there, you know, having your kids play at the park and you overhear a thing going on, you could wander over. It's not isolated. You're not having as many parking issues. It's a welcome invite for everybody to come and ask a question. Maybe, you know, any question that they just happen to think of because we talked about spur of thought. You severely limit that, require people to enter into the doors and kind of manage parking and somewhere they're not walking around, we're out and about. So I understand if we have to do, we have to, but I would like to know legitimately, do we have to, can we accommodate requirements?
So I probably won't be able to speak to that tonight unless I grab my public meetings law manual and try to go through it. But I have to say, two of my concerns when I read through the committee's proposal were the public meeting laws component and and the other one just escaped me, but I had two and they were rather important. I'll think of it.
Counselor Sotomayor.
I would like to see us have a meeting next week. So I would like to accept the staff suggestion and hold it inside somewhere and do this just so we can do it and do it in the format that we're talking about here, about essentially present the budget with whoever wants to help get that component and have this and try and investigate this outdoor thing and not make, I'm sorry, I thought we kind of had a little more of a, I felt I had more of a handle on this. And so this is I would propose one of the dates. And if anybody knows a date and if that's okay, let's jump on having a meeting next week.
As I said a moment ago, my suggestion would be either Monday, June 2nd or Tuesday, June 3rd, and being mindful of the fact that there is another community meeting going on Tuesday, the 3rd.
Thank you, Mayor. The other component that I forgot briefly was that when you're noticing a meeting, the content and the subject matter needs to be in the agenda. So I would caution having items brought up that are off topic or not on the agenda, or finding a way that that can be done if that's what you're trying to do.
That's why originally I suggested that, although I hate not having the whole council there, that really does open up the possibilities because we are not put to the public meeting laws so strictly and alternating different town halls with different counselors. It makes it a lot easier. I have Counselor Hink.
To speak to Counselor Urban and the text feature, I think it is something worth exploring. We do that a lot with the state when we have our big statewide meetings, and we'll have people in Salem, but they actually use an app. And when you're, it has a QR code, it has a way to log in, and people can be anywhere watching it and submit questions and feedback. I think that's really important. I think that is easily accessible, easy to do.
And I think that's wonderful, but it would still, for us, it's elected officials, but we could definitely do that, especially if we rotated counselors.
Yeah. It's
Counselor
too bad.
Sotomayor.
Just one more thing.
Oh,
It's,
yes,
it
go
really
ahead.
is too bad. It's so restrictive because that's been a big thing, like through my campaign these last few months is accessibility and just being able to have conversations. So maybe it is maybe restricted to 3 counselors.
Counselor Sotomayor.
Or isn't it my understand, as long as we don't make any decisions or we don't reach out, I mean, like, if we say we will take any questions, but we won't give answers, and we can just,
Still a
we
quorum.
can't even still be there and listen to the town talk.
It's going to 4 people. That's the magic number.
We can be in the same vicinity, but we cannot be up on a, because that gives us a quorum and talking about city issues. Counselor Lammerman.
So does anybody off the top of their head know what the rules are for town hall meetings? Because I mean, our representatives do them all the time. I don't see why we couldn't still have a town hall with all of us be there, necessarily no agenda, to where we're not having to worry about posting items ahead of time.
If
Where
you're
it's
one
basically an
elected,
open
if you're
forum.
one elected official holding a town hall meeting, there's no quorum issue. As city staff has encouraged you in the past, we encourage you to meet with your constituents, spend time with your constituents. You don't have a public meeting with a group of constituents as an elected official, you certainly can do that. The issue is having the quorum of 4 council members there. To the mayor's point earlier, the suggestion's been made that we limit this to 3 council members. But, that's a decision that you've got to make as a group, to pinky swear that only 3 of you are going to show up. Because the minute the 4th one shows up, chances are we're going to be dealing with our dear friends in the State Ethics Committee again.
Counselor Urban.
In this meeting, we had concerns, public, we had interested citizens, which we appreciate people coming in to bring up things that we might not otherwise be aware of. We have concerns with council, but we get to respond, we make decisions in that. So how is that any different than why don't we just call it a city council meeting? Have the agenda. The main topic is going to be budget, and we allow people to come up and speak and respond, but not tell any decisions.
Yeah.
Counselor Wilson.
Great idea. Again, you're running into the recording and the broadcasting and the ability to respond as public meeting laws require. Kind of the same thing. We're still, I mean, I love the idea of having it at Bohemia Park. I love the idea of maybe 3 of us showing up there and 3 of us showing up here and 1 person stays home.
Counselor Lammerman.
So I think we really need to look into like what Mr. Urban was speaking about with the YouTube live stream. I mean, we are streaming to YouTube right now. So I really think it'd be no different doing it there off of an iPad or a phone. As long as it's recorded, is broadcasted, and they have a way to speak, they can speak through the live stream.
There also needs to be some pretty strict minutes taken. It's like, that's not something that I believe a counselor should do. And then as far as the downtown Cottage Grove meeting, actually 4 can be there because we're there in our own capacity. And so it's not a meeting the city is holding. So Counselor Sotomayor, did you have that?
Yes, I did. How about if we come up with whatever topics, then we are going to open ourselves up to discussion for this first meeting and public notice those and encourage people to come. One of them be, please drop in suggestions for our next town hall meeting. And people get invited to do that. And we pull this one off with all of us there. If we should be in a meeting and it should be recorded and it should do all of that, see if it flies. And if we give ourselves 2 days to write down any topics that we want a public notice and we send them in and that's what sends out, isn't that what we were saying is we got to declare what we're talking about?
Counselor Lammerman.
So I don't know if anybody else wants to or not, but I don't have a problem tomorrow calling the ethics board and finding out exactly what we can do as a council doing a town hall type setting. And then relaying that back tomorrow. Because there's got to be some way that we can do this without the same guidelines, essentially.
So can we agree that if some way it can work, we will have a meeting June 1st? And if it won't work, well, June 2nd, I'm sorry. The Monday.
That's going to be a hard day. I can do June 4th. Oh, the Shepherd Room's not open on June 4th? No, that's a Wednesday.
It's my understanding that the Shepherd Room is not available on June 4th. Is that correct?
The Shepherd Room is available from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and then from 5 p.m. on. Keeping in mind, the city recorder has extensive setup to prepare that room for audio and video, and it's not an easy feat. You could see the setup that we did here for Budget Committee 4 times. So that's not the ideal date. I'll make it work if I have to.
Sullivan. Mr. Hank.
I would too be available on Friday, but I do request that it's not I see here no scheduled hard ending time. I think that's probably my biggest gripe with this is no hard ending time. I think we should have an established ending time.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to since we're not gonna be able to talk about things. One thing.
I'm not available on Friday. Counselor Hank.
I could pretty much be available anytime this week. Getting after that's going to be difficult.
Sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, question for city recorder. What kind of lead time would you need? Hour and a half, 2 hours? Would 7 o'clock start time be more feasible if we were to do it Wednesday? Still gonna be light out.
I can do Tuesday and I can do Wednesday.
I'll make it work if Wednesday's the day that you want. You know, for example, just tear down in here for Budget Committee took me 2 hours. Just tear down.
We can assign additional staff to work with Mindy and I to get that set up. If Wednesday works best for people, we'll make it work.
Counselor Hank.
I could be wrong, but I see Community Strong on June 4th. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Counselor Sotomayor.
Is there something we could do in here that would be different than a normal meeting, that we could try the idea? I mean, the whole idea is this is not on our staff to make this work. We're trying to open it up in a different way for our community and go ahead and admit, we don't know how in the world we can do it, but we're going to try next outreach meeting to have one. Let's have a meeting here in our chambers and let's call it a town hall attempt and do it and let people talk different than their 3 minutes and bring up other things, whatever we got to do to make it work.
That's all right.
So why don't we just have this first meeting be 3 people? So it can be more casual and without the need of all the other requirements.
We gonna flip coins to decide who gets to go?
We could have it here. Counselor Wilson, did you have?
Just putting it out there, I'm open any day this week. So if it's a 3-person at Bohemia to make it work that way, I'm good to go that way. Although I would think it would be better community relation wise to have as many of us there as possible. And as far as it being here to lessen the burden on Mindy, I'm all for that. There's not as much. There's as much room here as it is at Shepherd Room as far as being able to.
I think the point that this council is trying to make is that we want it informal.
Yeah.
And so and as many of us there as we can.
Right.
So if we want to lessen that, this would be the place, I think, at least for the first one. So, and then we can look into, would be my suggestion. Then we can look into expanding out on that and letting people speak and off topic. And we could put an agenda together with some lead-in agenda items and then have a citizen, I can read that speech, but then they can speak on whatever they want and we can actually go back and forth more and be a little less formal. Counselor Lammerman.
So I do agree it needs to be more open and informal, but we're still going to want to keep some ground rules by somewhat limiting time back and forth. Otherwise, that could go all night.
Counselor.
I suggest then we try what Greg and whoever wants to talk with Greg about ground rules talks about. Anybody who wants to help Dana do the budget wants to talk about. It sounds like as long as it's 2 or 3 people want to get together and talk about maybe a particular item, that's something that is run by staff and see if is that how we're going to come up with topics and let people bring up things they want to do during that time? And when is our deadline to get those topics in?
City staff can certainly come up with an agenda and capture the comments that we've heard this evening. Now, what I'm obviously hearing is budget, budget, and budget, which is a generic enough topic that I think most other comments people may make could certainly fit under it. And staff can come up with an agenda and circulate it to you. To answer your question directly, Mindy will throw something at me if I don't say that we have to have the agenda done by Wednesday night, which is tomorrow. So if you have other topics, beyond budget and what might included in budget, please let us know by tomorrow. But we will put it on an agenda. something else I might suggest is, if we're going to use this space, there's things we can do to configure it. Like I said, we have the disc microphones. Maybe council members can sit here on the floor rather than up here in our little throne. Maybe we can rearrange the room and put council members over there by the chalkboard and have people here facing them, or do something with the chairs. There's a couple different things I think we can do to make it more informal and less, like a formal city council meeting. And so, let us kind of put our heads together and come up with a room configuration that allows for that sort of informal interaction.
Councilor Irvin.
Well, we're looking into the rules, we're looking to do a dunk tank. Let's see where that fits in.
I was going to suggest we give the mayor a gong. So, it's just kind of.
It's good. Councilor Lammerman.
So obviously the budget is a hot topic, but if I may, we do also have Cindy and Cameron here who hear a lot from the community. If I can ask both of you, are there any hot topics you guys hear of all the time that might be a good? What say you, Mr. Cameron?
Obviously, it's also so the stuff that I think about, it's exactly the same stuff.
It all falls under budget. All right, well, so we just need to settle on a date. And I can tell you I'm available the 3rd and the 4th are my 2 dates. So that is, that's Tuesday and Wednesday. You're the 4th? 4th? Excellent. Excellent. Yay. So now we need to decide on the time. So it's looking like 6 or 7. What is best? 6? So do either one, or we could do 6:30. 7. Okay.
I'm fine with 7.
7. Okay. 7 o'clock. All right. 7 o'clock on Wednesday, the 4th. Okay.
Recommended we have a hard end time. That might be I agree, that we're doing this experiment. What should it be?
The suggestion here was 7 to 8:30. Do we want to stick to that?
I think we should almost just have it at 2 hours, 7 to 9. That way, if it runs shorter, it runs shorter. If we need that 2 hours, we have it. And the next time we can do it at an hour and a half. We don't know what the turnout's going to be like yet.
Councilor Wilson?
Considering the subject matter, I think probably 2 hours, either better window of time. I know that that's annoying to some.
So we can shoot for 8:30?
Shoot for 8:30, and if it goes to
but have a
9.
hard Stop at 9.
Yeah. Sounds reasonable.
So everyone, put that on your calendar.
You said that's happening.
Yes. Okay.
Need a few more seats in your radio station for us to do it there.
You could do it. You could just set out a long table at the back of the lobby and I got plenty of microphones.
All right. So we'll move on. Concerns from council. Counselor Irvin.
I think we should contemplate All-American Square for future.
It's a
My
good idea.
understanding is that there's some electrical build out going in there, but maybe thinking about it from the perspective of hosting a town hall in the town square. And to facilitate all the legal requirements would be advisable. All the grounds dug up.
Great idea. Counselor Lammerman.
So speaking of which, as you all know, I'm an advisor on the Downtown Cottage Grove group. And Tuesday, June 3rd, from 5:45 to 7:30 PM, they're having their annual meeting at the Cottage Grove Armory, discussing all their proposed plans and ideas, including the Opal Whitley Park. So anyone and everyone's invited to that. And then secondly, I would like to see about getting a consensus to add an item to a future meeting agenda, which would be the, let me open that back up. It would be the repeal of one of our ordinances. Let me pull it up. I think it was, where'd it go? Bear with me 1 second. Move on to somebody else for a minute. Come back to me.
Anyone else? Counselor Merriday.
Thank you, Mayor. We were very excited when we discussed having the meeting in Bohemia Park and the organicness, the accessibility. We figured out that there would be a place for even for people in wheelchairs to speak from. And so we're really looking forward to getting a different sort of feel to a town hall meeting. So I hope that we can pursue, as Councillor Irvin mentioned, this more open and traditional way of letting people get to gather together and express themselves with their elected officials. So I think that's a good goal to hold.
Counselor Lammerman.
Thank you. So I'd like to see about getting a consensus from council and the city manager about adding to our agenda discussion about the possibility of repealing ordinance number 2863, which is the ordinance that created the EID and the EBID. And that basically gave the city the power to collect membership fees from businesses in the downtown Cottage Grove on behalf of those organizations. They don't exist anymore. The Downtown Cottage Grove group would like to see that go away, so that way they can move to a voluntary payment method of the businesses instead of a forced payment method. So I'd like to see if we can get a consensus to add that to discussion about repealing that ordinance.
Actually, the repeal of that ordinance is part of a broader discussion that I've had with the downtown groups and with the Chamber of Commerce about creating a business registration, not business tax, not business license, business registration. And I think we've tentatively scheduled to have that discussion or at least start that discussion at the second council meeting in June.
So do we want to speak about that during that meeting then?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's a repeal of the ordinance is part of the broader discussion that we've had ongoing with the downtown folks and with the chamber for a couple of months now.
Anyone else? All right, report from the city manager.
That would conclude my report, Your Honor.
Wonderful. All right, we have no city attorney. No items to be added to the consent agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Hey now, don't you be calling them that.